Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to take a look at some new cards that are coming around in Paradox Rift, and I think some of these could be very fun indeed. So let's start off with a confusing new card, by which I mean it both confuses and likes to be confused. We've got ourselves a new Spinder. Yay! I did do all the translations here myself, though I have checked with a lovely Antoine Boulet to make sure I've not done anything silly. And what we've got here is a really nice kind of ability. Spinny legs. If this Pokemon is confused and would be damaged by an attack, flip a coin. If heads, prevent that damage. Now, it is damaged by an attack. It's not damage counters. It's not special conditions. It's not abilities or anything like that. We're talking damage from an attack here. But also, we're talking about flipper heads and don't take damage. I cannot be the only one that thinks that's really good. Because it is. On a heads. If you're confused. And now we're kind of starting to get to the point where it's getting to be a little bit much. Because it's not just you don't take damage. It's you don't take damage if you flip heads and you're confused to begin with. And this is where I start having a little bit of a problem. No, I don't think it's the end of the world. And yes, I absolutely do think this card could be very useful and viable and all of that. But by the same token, it's a little bit awkward. How do you get yourself confused? Well, the attack. I mean, there's other ways, we'll get there in a minute, but mostly the attack. Because what we've got here is 3 colorless energy, 100 damage. This Pokemon is now confused. And of course, the whole deal is you bring Spinder active. You do the attack to deal 100 damage. Then you are immediately confused. And if your opponent tries to attack, they've got a 50-50 chance of actually doing any damage. And that's the point here. Now, after your next turn, it becomes a little awkward because now you are confused and you got to try and attack. And then if you flip Tails, you take 30 damage. So really what you need to do is get out the active, heal the confusion, back into the active, and then do the whole thing all round again. It's not ideal, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be honest with you. It is not ideal. But the fact that you can do 100 damage and then just, be immune to damage, potentially on the heads, that's pretty good, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty good. Also, as a side note, every time I try and talk about the worst supporter ever, somebody always comes back to me with Imakuni, saying Imakuni is the worst supporter ever. No, it's not. I'm not here to make an argument that Imakuni is a good supporter. All it does is confuse your active Pokemon. Not here to make that argument at all. It's clearly 99.9% of the time terrible. But there are a few times, like here, where Pokemon get an advantage if they're confused, and that means Imakuni will never be the worst supporter, because there are very occasionally Pokemon that actually want to be confused, or gain an advantage by being confused. So yeah, time was Yellhorn could be quite useful here, to confuse both active Pokemon. Obviously Yellhorn was Darkness Ablaze, which means it unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, has already rotated out, which is a bit annoying. But then again, what you really want to do here is attack and cause a confusion from the attack. Yellhorn would be where you can't attack, so you confuse your opponent and then confuse yourself, but you're not actually attacking. So your opponent first has to flip a heads for confusion, and then if they can flip heads for confusion, they've then got to flip a second heads, or I suppose they've got to assume you flip a tails, in order to actually get any damage done. And that's what I kind of like about this. If you can combine this with special conditions, this could be very, very fun. I'm giving this between 3 and 4 Wassies. When I give half Wassies, that would be barbaric. Not arguing it's a phenomenal card, but it is very, very useful and interesting as a card which can essentially get some damage done and then leave your opponent with not many options. Now, I don't know exactly who's a huge Spinder fan. There probably are some out there, but I'm a huge Porygon fan. We've got a new Porygon line, and I'm showing you all of them here because I like Kurimitsu, and this Kurimitsu Porygon 2 is awesome. But, oh my word, look how cute this Porygon is. It's Kayama, not an artist I've usually championing. There are others I'm usually preferring, but oh my word, this Porygon is amazing, and I love it. If anyone's wondering what they do, Porygon is flip a coin after doing 10 damage. If heads, you get to discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. And the Porygon-Z is just 50, discard an energy from this Pokemon. Haven't checked them with anyone, but I'm fairly sure they're right. So as for Porygon-Z then, because this is of course the one we actually care about, love this. Once during your turn, you may flip a coin. If heads, attach up to 4 basic energy from your discard to this Pokemon. If tails, discard an energy from this Pokemon. And I know, and also Antoine's translated the attack name as Glitchy Turbo, which I think is amazing. And look, there are going to be times you flip tails, fine. But really, this Porygon's going to sit on your bench, and you're going to hope to flip some heads. And then when you've flipped enough heads and got enough energy on there, boom, then you smash. Life is good. Everybody has a good time. We move on with our day. I think this is great. If you flip heads. There's a theme, ladies and gentlemen. There is a theme coming around in this video. Now, it is also a stage 2, and look, we've got to acknowledge that. The fact that it's a stage 2 is not ideal, because you've actually got to get it rolling. It's a little bit awkward, I get that. But accelerating 4 energy is pretty good. Why do we care? 1 colorless energy, 40 damage, for each energy attached to this Pokemon. And unlike attacks we've seen in the past, there is no flip a coin here. It is just 40 for each energy attached to this Pokemon. And like I say, I translated this myself, and it very literally says, this Pokemon, each energy attached to it, 40 damage. It does not say energy card. It says energy. That is very, 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 very important. Which means that if you get a double turbo energy on, it will count double. It will then reduce by 20, so it ends up being 60 rather than 80. But it's still 60 for 1 energy, which is not too bad. How about reversal energy? Just as an idea here, have a bit of a play with reversal energy. That's free energy. Obviously, you need to be behind on prizes for reversal energy to kick in, I understand. However, reversal energy here will add 120. Because it is energy, it is not energy card. Which is redonkulous, ladies and gentlemen. Redonkulous. This is an evolution Pokemon that is neither an EX nor a Pokemon V. So if you got 2 reversal energy on here, all of a sudden you're doing 240 damage. That's redonk. It is worth noting that the ability specifically accelerates basic energy. It is not any energy. So if you could use this to accelerate 4 reversal energy, now we're talking. You can't. But my point is, we've got an attack here that does good damage if you get lots of energy on. And it's a stage 2, so you're probably going down a prize or 2 in the early game. And we've got both the ability and reversal energy that can now be propping this up in terms of energy. I'm a gigantic Porygon fan. I like Porygon. Porygon's my boy. Porygon was my original favourite Pokemon. Until Gen 4, it was my favourite Pokemon. It is now my second favourite Pokemon. My page-a-day Porygon calendar... my page-a-day Pokemon calendar has been stuck on Porygon since September the 20th because I don't want to move it to a new page because the new page isn't going to be Porygon. And I want to stick it on Porygon for a while. My desk calendar still says 20th of September because that day was Porygon and I wanted to stick. I've had a birthday since then. My wife's had a birthday since then. I haven't changed the calendar over. I love this, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is brilliant. As a side note, we are stuck with 60 HP Porygon. There's no 70 HP Porygon. But we do actually have the one from Lost Origin that for a single energy lets you rearrange the top 4 cards of either player's deck, which could be really good. If your opponent's having a slow start, you can give them a bad top deck and really hurt them. Or if you're having even if you're having a decent start, you can basically fix your top deck for the next turn. You know, turn 1, go second, and then you're fixing your top deck for turn 2. This could actually be genuinely useful. Also, fun little side note, this Porygon is done by Kuramitsu. The new Porygon 2 is also done by Kuramitsu. Honestly, that's probably the best Porygon 2 we've got. I do love the one from Lost Origin, which has actually lovely Okacheke artwork, my very favourite artist. But actually, I'll be honest, it's one of their best. It's 20 for each tool card in the Lost Zone. That's not how you're building this deck. That is a different deck. If you try building a deck which is going to get lots of tools in the Lost Zone, and that deck does exist, though, frankly, it's existed since Lost Origin, it's never been good, That's a different deck. You're not going to have space to do both. This is a set Porygon up, and then just attach a bunch of energy and smash. But I'm telling you now, the combination of this ability and reversal energy really could allow Porygon-Z to do redonkulous damage. You flip heads on this, attach a reversal energy, that's 280. That is basically everything except Stage 2 EXs and Pokemon V Max, for what is essentially a single energy attachment. I'm giving this 4 Wassies, and you can't stop me, because by the time you listen to this, I've already made the video. I genuinely love this. And look, I'm a big Porygon fanboy, and I'm probably over-exaggerating how good this is, and I don't really care, because this is ridiculous damage if you can get the energy on, and even before you muck around with any type of energy acceleration, and bearing in mind this is colorless so it can use any energy acceleration, we've got really, really good ways to figure this out in terms of energy. Now, there are a couple of other Pokemon we need to have a chat about. How about Garganacl? And look, I love Garganacl. I don't love the free energy 140 on stage 2. That's garbage. But I do really like the ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic fighting energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. If you do, heal 30 from that Pokemon. We have seen for years that stage 1 Pokemon accelerating energy, think things like Flaffy, they work. They see play, they are viable and good. Stage 2s don't. Once upon a time they did, they haven't for a long time. I know there is exceptions, things like Baxcalibur, but Baxcalibur works because it can attach lots and lots of energy, as much energy as you like. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the difference. Attaching one energy on a stage 2 per turn, it's not good enough. I like the healing 30, that's really cool. I don't think it's good enough. I think it's kind of fun, and I do think fighting is crying out for energy acceleration. I just don't think this is it, unfortunately. And I speak as someone who's predominantly played fighting decks since I started playing competitively in like 2009. I love me a good fighting deck. But fighting decks for me have always been basics and stage 1s that hit for low energy. That has been the good fighting decks for me. This, I'm giving it 3 Wassies. It's an interesting ability, but I think that's the best I can do. And then we finish off with Vanillux. Now, I want to love Vanillux. I mean, firstly, Vanillux as a Pokemon is clearly adorable. Secondly, I love Ice Cream. Thirdly, I love Gen 5. And fourthly, this is a really interesting ability. Like we just said, the attack here is, it's not good, frankly, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2 energy, 110. I've left the pre-evolutions on the screen as well so you can see them. They don't need translations. They are vanilla cards. There's nothing special about them. I'm sorry. However, this ability could be special. Your opponent's Pokemon that have 40 HP or less remaining cannot attack. That's really good. Incredibly good. And bearing in mind, I just showed you earlier, I think yesterday probably, I showed you the Serena, the Terra Water Serena, that for a single energy will drop one of your opponent's Pokemon to 30 HP. Combine it with this, they can't attack. But there's so many issues with this and actually trying to make it work. The fact that it's a stage 2, that's a problem. The fact, and it's just there's so many ways around it. If your opponent heals a bit of damage to go above 40 HP, they can attack. If your opponent plays a new Pokemon that's now got full HP, they can now attack. It's just, the thing is, like, even if every Pokemon on your opponent's side of the field has 40 HP or less, and none of them can attack, sooner or later, unless they're going to deck out before you, you have to take a prize. And then your opponent can play a new Pokemon and attack. So, this is one of those I really, really want to be good. But it's a stage 2, which means it's going to be awkward to get into play. And then there's so many ways to play around it. I'm giving this an extremely tentative 3 Wassies. I really like this ability. I think the reality is it's never actually going to work. And I would love to be proven wrong. I want somebody to go and smash a regional with Vanillux, and then I can come and make a video about how great Vanillux is and how sorry I am and how I underestimated it. That would make me extremely happy. I just don't think it's actually going to work, and for that, I'm sorry. Right, There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think of these new cards. Tell me if Porygon-Z is as good as I think it is, or whether I'm exaggerating because I'm a Porygon fanboy. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, join a Discord, and all kinds of fun things. Oh, and get shout-outs on the channel, like the lovely Dark1313, who's been a supporter of ours for a while now and is a very lovely person. So shout out to them for the support and the loveliness. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.